Hi everyone, I'm Chad Shoup and welcome to my latest edition of Quick Takes. Remember, this is a part of the broader Bank It or Tank It segments that I do, but in these Quick Take videos, we just cover 5 stocks that you all have commented on or left me post on Twitter to take a look at. We're going to pull from those stocks and I pick 5 of them to run through quickly. We don't look at the fundamentals, we don't look at the sentiment. We're just going to briefly touch on the charts of these stocks and figure out whether or not, just based on the charts, we would bank on these stocks going higher, or they're stocks that are tank and go lower just over the next several months. So I'm going to give you my quick takes on 5 stocks today. And before I dive into it though, just be sure to leave me a comment below. Let me know what stocks you want me to feature in an upcoming Bank It or Tank It video or a quick take segment. And for our video today, we'll be focusing a lot on the relative rotation graph that I've talked about in previous videos, but today you actually see it in motion and get to the full effect of how that graph works. So let's get started. We have a few stocks today. One of them is Aptiv. It's the leader in self-driving technology and smart vehicles around the world. And Edmund recommended that one. And then Rich wanted me to take a look at Purple Innovation, a mattress and pillow maker. El Camino tossed out Overstock.com. So we're going to be taking a look at the online retailer. It's become synonymous with blockchain over the last couple of years, but we'll break it down just by looking at the chart. And then there's Intuitive Surgical that Abel mentioned for me to take a look at, and this is the designer and manufacturer of surgical equipment. So a lot of people, that's a pretty popular stock. I'm sure you all have heard of that one. And then our last stock comes from Stacy. She recommended Seagen, a biotech company that works on therapies for cancer treatment. So let's get started today. We're going to put all those up looking at the relative rotation graph. So before we dive into exactly what each of these mean and where they're sitting at right now, let me just explain it just real quickly, what this graph is showing us. And then you can see that the top right here is leading, the bottom right is weakening, to the left is lagging, and to the top left is improving. So these are 4 quadrants that we're looking to see where these stocks move into as we show this rotation in a second. But in the center of the chart, that's going to be basically the overall index that we're comparing these stocks to. So it's comparing, for example, Overstock.com, it's comparing it to how it's performing against the S&P 500 in this case. So that's the center of the chart basically. And we're looking at how it's performing relative to that, just on price action. But then we take the momentum of that line, of the relative strength line, to get this chart that we're going to be taking a look at today. So it's a combination of relative strength and momentum, 2 of the most powerful tools in technical analysis. And we're using it today just to take a look at how these stocks are stacking up. So as we roll through the chart, I just wanted to show you the motion. Let's just wind it back. This is a 1-year chart. And as we go forward though, you just see that things tend to rotate from leading to weakening to lagging, then back to improving. And it's not always perfect, but you can see that there's a general rotation that they kind of make that same track around and around each time. So what we can end up doing from there is that once we see a stock that's either lagging or leading the market, we kind of know where it's expected to head from there, because eventually it's going to break down and end up lagging the market for a period of time. Or if it's lagging, it's going to bounce back and end up leading the market for a period of time. So today we're going to be taking a look at these 5 stocks. And Overstock.com, you can see it's way out here. And that just, the further away that we are from the center, the more volatile the stock is. So this is a bigger move for Overstock just over the last several days, because we're looking at a daily chart, but it's still a big move. And then you can see that the ones here in the center, they haven't moved that far out on the chart, but we still have Aptiv. It's in the leading quadrant and heading a little bit to the right and up. So it's not exactly giving us a sell signal yet, but it's not giving us much hope that it's going to continue to head higher. Like we can see Purple Innovations here. It's already went into the leading quadrant, but now it's starting to turn lower. We see the angle of the arrow pointing down. And then we have Intuitive Surgical. You can see it's in the improving, which we would like to see that push into the leading quadrant to show the full rotation here, but it's already starting to turn lower before it's even going to get to the leading quadrant. So that's kind of a worrisome sign. And Seagen, which is in a lagging quadrant, so this is one that we're expecting to turn around soon. I really like to see when these turn higher before you jump in, but for the most part, we know that it's in the lagging quadrant now, so we can expect shares, and we'll bring this up when we look at the chart, to start to turn higher. So these 4 quadrants, so leading is green, weakening is yellow, lagging is red, and improving is blue. So as we pull up the charts, as you can see here for Intuitive Surgical, it's been in this nice upward trend channel, and you kind of see it goes through all the motions of the relative rotation graph. We're going to the leading quadrant, to the weakening, then it started to lag, then we started to improve, happened to go back to lagging, improving, leading the market again, and then you go through the full cycle, weakening, lagging, back to improving, and now it's holding right along this green support line. But the key here is that it hasn't lagged the market yet. It's been just kind of improving along with the market, but relative strength wise, it's not falling behind too much yet, and the momentum there was still showing to the upside because of the volatility that we've seen in the stock. But now if it goes to lagging, this is going to break below this key support line, so it is something that we want to keep on our watch list. But as long as this key support line holds right here around this $740 per share range, then we could expect the stock to build on its improving quadrant and actually head higher. And when we looked at the relative rotation graph, this was the one that had the arrow pointing back down. Like it might go back into the lagging quadrant, which would be a worrisome sign. Like I said, if it does that, it's probably breaking below this key support. But as long as it can hold this, it still has a chance to just edge higher, ride this trend line a little bit, and then eventually get back into the leading quadrant as it heads higher. So this is a stock that, as long as this green support holds, it's going to be on our bank it list for today. You can see here on Aptiv, green means it's been leading. You can see the shades on the chart. And this one's been on a nice run higher, and now we're in this consolidation pattern channel of somewhat. It's not rising quite as steep as it was back here in late last year, so it's slowing down a little bit, seeing some more volatility in the pullback, and that's okay. But this stock, because it's in the leading quadrant, it's up here trading near this red resistance line. I'm not expecting it to break out just yet. I'm at least betting on the stock to fall back to around this 140 area, maybe 145, before it makes a push higher and eventually breaks out to the upside. So over the next several weeks, even maybe a few months, this is a stock that we're going to have on our tank it list, just because until we break above kind of the new highs, get above this red resistance line, it's one that we'll want to take our time with and not go all in on. There will probably be a better price to add here in the next several weeks. For Purple Innovation, this is a pillow company and mattress company, so it's a different type of stock to be this explosive. I guess everybody wanted to buy mattresses when they were during lockdown during the pandemic, but you can see that this had a nice rally, kind of broke down into this flag pattern, and then broke out of that, another strong rally up high. And what we're probably going to see here is another consolidation period sideways a little bit. So this is going to be another stock that just, for now, at least until that $40 level, also is a pretty key resistance point that you can see on the chart. And you can see that that has been a key level for the price to break above. So if prices get above that, I would definitely be bullish on the stock, just holding above $40 and heading higher from there. But until it does, until it shows us that it can stay above 40, this is one that I would expect to tank, head at least a little lower. It'll probably stay in the high 30s. It could do another flag pattern like it did back here, where we get the breakout and then some consolidation. So that'll be one that we want to keep an eye on for maybe a pullback, because also you'll notice it's already in the leading quadrant, but it didn't really head much higher. So it kind of got through the whole leading, then it was weakening, back to leading, and it didn't really make a big move higher. It's just leading the market barely, but that might be a sign that once we go into the next weakening phase, it's going to pull it down a little bit more. With Overstock.com, now this one, it's been an extremely volatile stock. This peak back here was just in August, peaked over $120. Then it fell, more than 50% crash from there. And it had this nice trend channel that it was trading in once the prices fell. And then it broke out of that, ripped higher again, was leading the market. Now we're just starting to see some weakening again. And I think that's going to be a sign of a pullback. I don't think it's going to get to the previous peak on this rally. And that's kind of a bearish sign as well. Even though I don't think that the pullback's going to take us back down to the 40s or the 50s in this price range. But I mean, we can see the dip to the 80s, 70s. We're going to see some volatility for the stock. So that is something to keep on our radar. As it's in this weakening quadrant, what we would want to see is it just turn right back around, end up leading, and then heading higher. That would make it be a strong bank it stock for us today. But just with the peak that we had here going into the weakening quadrant, for now, it's a stock that we would expect to be on a tank it list, at least for the next several weeks. So our last stock is Seagen, and this is trading in a slightly downward trend channel here. But we have the clear resistance lines on the top in red and a clear support in green across the bottom. And what we would want to see is this start to turn back to blue and improving, and then bounce higher out of that. So just purely based on a chart, even though it's showing a little bit of a downtrend, I'm not expecting it to head much lower as long as it can hold above this green support line. If this stock falls below, let's say $150 a share, then we want to take this and set it to the curb, because it's probably headed even lower, likely back down to around $100 a share. So it could be on a sharp drop if it breaks that key level. But as long as it stays above $150, more importantly, as long as it rides this key support line that shares are trading right at, then I'm going to bank on this stock heading higher, heading back up to the 170s, 180s in the next several weeks. So this is one that you'd want to keep on your radar for heading higher. So that's all for my quick takes today. I just wanted to run through these 5 stocks that you all recommended. Again, this is only looking out just a few weeks, and as I went through the videos, you saw the key levels that I'm looking at, and as those things change, so will my viewpoint. Several of these key levels are trading pretty close to where the stocks are currently at, and as soon as they break above that or below that, that will give us a new indication to either put a stock on a bank it list or take it off the bank it list and it becomes a tank it stock. So these are what I would pay attention to if I was following these stocks, and I hope that you were able to benefit a little bit from watching this video. But by all means, leave me a stock below this video. Let me know which companies you want me to take a look at in an upcoming bank it or tank it or quick take segment. So that's all for today, and I hope you liked it. If you did, just hit the like button to let me know and click subscribe so that we don't miss out on my next video. So until next time, I'm Chad Shoup.